Hey everybody, it is Kit here. Welcome back to another Dragon Yarns Crochet Sunday. We are officially working on a blanket for my mom that I have restarted now for the third time, and y'all are gonna keep me straight, okay? You're gonna keep me straight. Oh, I should actually show you guys the yarn, huh? I am doing a voiceover, but that's okay. I will walk over here right now and grab the yarn. I have plenty of these balls, so many of them, in fact, because I know it's going to take a lot of yarn to make this. I'm making a waffle stitch, crochet blanket for my mom and dad's bedspread. My mom loves this color, and I've been trying to make it for like 4 or 5 years. We're going to ignore that. It is the Lion brand Heartland yarn, and it is King's Canyon, and I really got to get I got to get a move on with this stuff because if I am not careful, there will be not enough yarn to finish this because they may discontinue it. So, you guys are gonna keep me straight, and we're gonna knock this out. Honestly, this might be one of those things where we do um a bunch of reading, and I will probably also do some talking here and there. I'm not going to for today, and I'm not going to for next week. I might next time. Yeah. So, and this is going to be a big project for the foreseeable future for me, just because one, it's easy, and two, like, I actually want to get a move on it. I'd like to give it to her for Christmas. And at this time, I don't really have Crojo to do anything else. So that's what we're going to do. Hopefully y'all are okay with that. But yeah, so today, that's the project. It is 270 stitches wide, and as of starting this video, 7 rows deep so far. I'm trying to kind of keep a count on that, and I have 1 skein on it so far. The one I am working on in the video is the second skein. Oh, and speaking of the skeins, there's actually a good amount of yarn, I feel like. 251 yards, or 230 meters per skein. So, and it's very soft and it's very nice. So, yeah. Anyways, so we are going to continue reading Chicago for today and next week. So, we're going to pick up right where we left off last episode, with the elephant. Um, basically, the guys, Kieran Green and Charlie Cooper, met up with this Winters at the McDonald's, the aforementioned agreed upon location, and they're not really happy. Not really happy. They're very not trusting, but they're kind of backed into a corner. They don't have a lot of information to go off of. They don't have a lot of options. So if they work with her, at least for the day, see if they get anything from it, and if not, then they'll just do something else. She's very tricky. They are thinking she's probably a fae instead of a witch. She's got to probably be one or the other. They don't think she's necessarily a vampire, but they don't know, right? And that's not making them happy either, to be fair. So yeah, they Winter showed up, basically said, "Hi, you're tailing this woman who has very nice assets. She wants a new wardrobe at the local mall." They get to the mall. They can't find her. So from there, the guys split because Green is still healing from a gunshot wound from the beginning of the prequel, so the night before. And so Cooper goes off, and with the help of Alex, a friend and another person in the pack, he gave her a call. She was able to help narrow down shops that he could try, and he in fact did find the girl that they are looking for. Girl, woman. So that we left off with Cooper, we're going to start with Green. And wow, that was a very big explanation. Should I do an explanation? Do y'all want an explanation? I don't know. Let me know, and I'll do it in June. Okay. While Cooper was agonizing over his life decisions, Green was eating at the fully stocked food court. He had snagged a table in the corner to view the crowds coming and going, his back to a tall half wall that doubled as a plant container. The table was littered with food wrappers, cartons, and cups, the only evidence of his feeding spree. Cooper wasn't here to smirk knowingly at him, and for that he was grateful. He knew his friend was right, but that didn't mean he had to like it. In his idle hands, he rotated his smartphone round and round with his fingers, a thin piece of technology seemingly small and fragile in his calloused grip. He was contemplating calling Ben Dominic, a renowned tech guru and mate to the avian sub-alpha. I changed the terminology to gamma. I'm glad I'm rereading. He's the alpha. They're like his managers. So sub-alpha, gamma. That's where we're going with this. To the avian gamma, Lauren Dominic. Caution kept him from making the call. It wasn't a remark against Dominic's computer skills, but rather the inquiry. Dominic had a few friends that owed him some favors from some years back, but was this the right time to cash those in? Green knew he would do it for him without question. Green knew Ben would do it for him. Without question, but was Winters worth the cost when those favors could be used in the future for other things? He wanted to know who and what he was working with, but he also didn't want to get anyone else in his pack involved with this messy business any more than necessary. Still, perhaps Dominic could at the very least see if he could pull facial recognition and find some papers on this person. It was the 21st century after all. Even most of the Fae were connected to the grid. The uncomfortable metal chair squeaked under his shifting bulk as he made the call. Dominic answered on the second ring. Yes, sir? His voice was quiet and professional. He must be at work. Green had Green had suspected that, which is why he didn't reach out over their shared pack link. Hey, Dom. Do you have a few minutes? His green eyes scanned the crowds, always on alert for any trouble. Green could hear the loud clacking of crappy keys against an economic keyboard. Yes, sir. What can I do for you? Dominic was always respectful of his alpha and was a very submissive, well-spoken sort. He never gave anyone trouble and was generally a helpful individual to work with. When he was at work or in public, he called Green sir. At home, it was always Alpha. No matter what Kieran did, he could never get him to just call him by his name. It was just Dominic's way. Let me just adjust this. Had a professor this semester who we had to write a big term paper for, and he was hammering on me about who is he? What is it? You need to use pronouns. And damn it, it is helpful in my writing, but damn it. Thank you, Dr. Klingman. Green sighed, rubbing his temples once. We've run into a snag here in Chicago. Met a new player last night during one of our runs, and she's troubling, to say the least. I can't get a bead on who or what, he said quietly. She is. If you can and are willing, could you pull facial recognition and get me whatever information you can find? We were walking down 3rd and 4th Street this morning at about 9 a.m. Dominic's typing never ceased. In the background noise, Green could hear phones ringing and heels click-clacking on tile floors. Yes, sir, I can. My lunch break is coming up soon. Give me maybe an hour and I can get you that information. Do you think she's on a team? His voice didn't change, but the lingo did. Team was pack code for a member of the supernatural community, whether as a species or an entity, known or unknown. There were the supernaturals, and then there were humans. there was no in between. Certainly. Not sure if she's a red. Coop and I am thinking she's a sparkle or a floral. I forgot about that. Red referred to a vampire. Sparkle meant a fae, and floral meant a witch. Critter meant a shifter, but he knew for absolute certain she wasn't one of his kind. Shifters could sense each other with certain ease, as it was instinct to recognize the animal within. I see. Sir, are you sure you don't want some help? A backup plan, perhaps? A backup plan. The one thing that had made coming out to Chicago so difficult. The entire pack was a big family. One big team. To have their alpha and his second go out on their own, especially into vampire-filled territory without some help. It hadn't sat right with a lot of the pack, especially his gammas. They were his friends, his sound counsel. Having an overall alpha along with subclans and gammas was not normal in the shifter world, but Kieran didn't want the old ways. It worked for them, but his word was law. As for this situation, his word was to stay home and stay safe. He wouldn't risk his pack for this. He didn't want a war with the vampires, and even if a little girl's life was at stake, he wasn't about to start a war with the vampires and risk even more lives dying. He and Cooper could handle it. They had to. I'm gonna highlight a sentence that didn't flow off the tongue very well. Kieran chewed on a straw. Nah, Coop and I can handle this, Dominic. You're already helping more than you know by getting any information you can find. The name that was given to us is Winters, if that helps at all. Dominic paused on the other end, contemplating what was the right response, but Kieran could hear someone coming up to him. Benjamin, do you have those quarterly reports done? Kieran closed his eyes, wishing this was all over and that he was home. You need to get it back to work, Dom. I'll let you know. Thank you for the help and time. He clicked the red button and set the phone down with another big sigh. His phone buzzed a second later, with a text from Dominic. Of course, sir. Anytime. You and Cooper be safe. Please. Working on it, Dom, Kieran murmured, leaning back again in his chair. He begrudgingly let Charlie follow the vampire lady around and gave himself time to rest and recover. He didn't have much choice, seeing as he had to wait on Dominic to get whatever information he could. Cooper was right. He wasn't much good with a bullet wound like this. Play nice for the time being, then see what we get at the end of the day. That's the plan, Green. We're gonna stick to it, he reminded himself, before gathering his trash and going for a second round of greasy, nutrient-deficient food. His doctor was gonna be pissed. But it was the doctor's wife he was terrified of. Agatha Baxter was going to ground his ass as soon as she found out he got shot. He may be a big bad tiger, but she was a human woman from the South. He didn't stand a chance. The day passed quicker than either of the men expected. Once Cooper had found the vampire, it was easy to keep track of her. When Cooper couldn't follow or thought they were beginning to suspect him, he switched with Green. Sometimes they didn't go into every single store, but they learned rather quickly that it wasn't the vampire that was going to be their problem for this tailing mission, but rather her human companions. They were armed, well-trained, and very observant. As for the vampire, well, Lacey Hale talked a lot. She jabbered on and on about all sorts of interesting tidbits as she insta'd and snapped the fun shopping spree, even posing with sexy lingerie and having one of the men take photos of her. Those pictures were reserved for her man, a mysterious Alice, who had apparently destroyed her entire wardrobe in a fit of rage and passionate jealousy after she had slept with a now dead man. yeah, there we go. There we go. Okay. Green's gut churned, red flags flaring in his head, but she hadn't cheated. No. Apparently, Alice wanted her to seduce the man, using everything she had at her disposal to get some information. He was even funding the entire trip, naturally. Green's hackles were raised, and the grimace wouldn't be shaken from his disgruntled expression. He didn't have a lot of romantic experience with women, but that didn't seem like a healthy relationship. Also, Alice is Alice. It's a shortened version of his name. Just in case. I'm not saying Alice like a girl's name. Cooper switched with him when Dominic called a few hours later in the early afternoon. It was a short, bittersweet conversation as Dominic told him that he had found nothing. There were no records, no photo ID, not even a P.O. box. The most he had found was a single facial recognition hit that matched at exactly 63% a year ago somewhere in Idaho. No hits on Winters. Nothing. Kieran wasn't surprised, but he had quietly hoped for even a little something. It was beginning to look like this person was Faye. Witches weren't usually so savvy as to avoid any sort of cameras, documentation. They all needed something. Hang on. As for documentation, they all needed something in order to be within modern day society. As for Faye, he honestly didn't know enough to even make an educated guess, and that troubled him greatly. The Fae were tricky, and so was Winters. He didn't like it. Not one bit. What Cooper found out in Green's absence was interesting. Lacey needed to learn to waltz for an old-timey party, the sort that had women wearing corsets and big ball gowns. There was a special guest set to visit the vampire clan, and everything had to be perfect. But with trouble on the docks, Northside, and a few other outlying groups, well, that special guest had just upped their arrival time by a lot, and the council was panicking. Was this possibly the reason why Winters was so keen they stopped hitting the little Goonies? Who was the special guest that had them so panicked? He would have to ask Winters the next time he saw her. Me and my damn pronouns. Thank you, Dr. K. I can't... Every time I'm reading this, I'm like, oh, this is bad. It's okay, right? We're getting better. The final tidbit of information came almost too late for the two men to properly prepare for, as Lacey also lived for fun, spontaneous planning, such as planning to meet up with her girlfriends at a local nightclub called Elevate. One quick Google search showed that it was a 5-star, extremely popular, exceedingly expensive, ultra-modern, difficult to get into nightclub with a certain dress code to match. Green took the last watch as Cooper raced across the mall to get them proper attire. Fancy schmancy frickin' tights and suede shoes, yuck, as he grumbled. Green only smirked quietly and shook his head, sipping a boba tea. Green sipping a boba tea. I forgot about that. And playing at an arcade machine as he waited for hail to be done at yet another boutique. Sorry, my headset decided to turn off. As he waited for hail to be done at yet another boutique. He wasn't sure what the humans were being paid, but the benefits had to outweigh the negatives of following her around. She was certainly gorgeous to look at, but to listen to every day and carry all of those bags? The humans had to make 7 trips to drop off bags to the vehicle out in the parking lot. 7. It gave Kieran a massive appreciation for being a single caveman who slept in a pullout in his office. And yet you're sipping boba tea. Mm-hmm. That was how the boys found themselves at the ultra-modern Elevate later that evening. Kieran in a crisp, brand new suit with a lilac button-down sipping a $45 whiskey, and Cooper in a navy blue button-down with nearly matching pants, sans the clown coat as he called it. He wasn't happy that they had to pay nearly $100 to get inside. $100 each, sorry. He wasn't happy that he had to wear the dress shoes, and he was upset that the place didn't have cheap dive bar beer. I'm just going to say Cooper wasn't happy, and then that way everybody knows what the he is. Me and my frickin' pronouns. Kieran smiled at the pretty barkeep and had her make a dirty Shirley Temple for his friend. Somebody shoot me, please. Screw you, Green, was the first words out of Coop's mouth when the lady gave him an oversized, dressed-up drink. There was even whipped cream with a cherry on top, pink-colored fizz dripping over the glass rim and sliding down the condensation-coated glass. Up yours, Cooper. Snickering, Kieran took a slow sip of his whiskey, feeling the burn slide down his throat and rise through his navel cavity. He did appreciate a fine whiskey, but could have done without all the noisy ambience. The club was filled with party girls, rich couples, and had a DJ playing the catchy new pop songs of 2018. Sweat permeated the air, and the music was too loud, bodies jostling, and high-pitched, tipsy squeals, all completing the club experience. It was its own special sort of hell for the two introverted shifters, but for party vampire Lacey Hale, it was bliss. She and her 5 girlfriends have been steadily drinking themselves up into a several $100 tab and dancing with every single young, hot thing they could. They didn't care who they were, what they looked like, man or woman, just that they were hot. Here, she was free for the night to do as she wished with no one to tell her no. Elevate was her playground, and everyone knew it. The bartenders knew all of her favorite drinks, and the bouncer had waved her to the front of the line as soon as she had arrived, even holding the door open for her. If the vampires didn't own this place, they certainly funded some of it, Green surmised. Both he and Cooper kept watching and covertly smelling their surroundings, but she and 2 of her friends were the only vampires there. Who wasn't there was Winters, and both of them knew it. Cooper sipped his drink and declined to say that it was actually rather tasty for a fruity girl's drink. He'd have to order Alex one the next time they were at a bar together. Maybe she would throw a chair at him. It sounded like a fun time, much better than the time he was having now. Kieran wasn't a great drinking buddy, and he hated being stood up, even by weird associates. Think the weirdo stood us up? Cooper took another sip, giving Kieran a side-eye as he played with the straw. Either that or she used us. Kieran scanned the crowd, watching the door as the bouncer used a wedge to keep it open. The AC was struggling with all of the dancing during the summer heat, but the drunken partygoers barely noticed. For what, I am not sure. Throughout the day, he had been paying attention to the shadows, trying to sense if they moved weirdly, if there was a sense of magic to them. Anything. He had gotten nowhere with that endeavor. Shadows were just shadows, after all. What Winters had done had to be some sort of illusion party trick. Right? Maybe it has something to do with that special guest. Cooper resisted the urge to tear his napkin into tiny bits of confetti, scowling slightly as he did so. His usual dive allowed them to throw peanut shells at the floor. This place couldn't possibly compare. Green drummed his fingers on the LED lit-up glass counter, watching the pretty light pattern play out under his hands. She could be working for them, he sighed. We don't know squat after all day of watching. We're no closer to Ryu. Hang on. We're no closer to Ryu. Unless this special guest wants A, for some reason, it doesn't matter to us. I need to say A being Adam. There we go. He pinched the bridge of his nose. And I'm going to say Kieran. Somebody please just... Somebody want to edit this for me? That would be awesome. I don't want to do it. That's fine. Cooper was silent for a moment. Yeah. He spoke so softly Karen nearly didn't hear him, even with supernatural hearing. I hope she's okay. Chewing on his lip, he remembered the happy family photograph. She doesn't deserve this. A single, heavy breath of air escaped Kieran's nostrils in a sorrowful sigh, but he didn't have time to say anything to that heavy statement. Coop. He nodded to the door, where the bouncer was throwing out a young woman in a familiar-looking leather jacket. Oh. So, she did show up. Great. Cooper tried to sound happy. He really tried. The men watched as Winters argued with the bouncer for a second before the man grabbed the woman and actually threw her to the side. Get lost, hobo. Go beg on some other street corner. Kieran raised his eyebrows and grimaced into his whiskey. Cooper awkwardly frowned as he looked around, checking for vampires once more. Even over the loud music, they had heard a good smack as she hit the concrete outside. Should we... No. Green's jaw tightened. Yeah, probably not. Cooper winced, gulping his dirty Shirley until he got a killer brain freeze. It was a nice but brief distraction to the futile situation. Green considered pounding his glass, but instead took a slow, controlled sip, barely able to enjoy Cooper's twisted face. His attention was too focused on trying to listen for Winters outside, and considering their limited options if she would leave them. If she was going to leave them. Leave them here. I don't know. I did read through, I think this is the third or fourth read I'm doing, but I haven't read it in a few months, several months, so it is helpful. I don't know. Should they go out to her? Could they even find her if they tried? Alright, I have information. The woman in question, with her smelly, roughed up attire and skinned hands, walked up to stand by the two men at the bar as if nothing had just happened. She had not bothered to change clothing for the exclusive nightclub, looking conspicuous in the worn discount store sneakers, ripped muddy jeans, and a stained white t-shirt, all complete with the dumpster-worthy leather jacket. Her dull blue eyes glanced between the two of them. Any information to share on your end? To the men's credit, neither of them had an outward reaction that was untoward. Cooper continued to rub his temples, biting his cheek to keep from whining or snapping. Green focused on not breaking his half-full whiskey glass, his free hand tightening into a fist in his lap. His suede shoe tapped on the metal bar stool he sat on. Once, twice, 3 times. Irritation was a shallow word for what he was feeling at that moment. You couldn't bother to change for the occasion? His voice was low but deep, his beast not too far from the surface. Deep breath in, deep breath out. Already the bartender was eyeing their new companion with both confusion and apprehension. How many other club-goers had noticed Winters in her out-of-place attire that belonged on a street corner? Not important. Do you have information to share? She barely skipped a beat, staring at his tense expression. Both Green and Cooper were taken back. Surely. Surely. She couldn't be this dense. Surely. Cooper breathed loudly through his nose, scrunching his face as repugnant body odor assaulted his senses. I don't think you understand what is and isn't important. He switched to breathing through his mouth. Winters, you just got barred entry from this nightclub. You cannot just skip in here and expect to get to stay, especially looking and smelling like that. Karen nodded in agreement, watching closely as her expectant expression turned to one of slight annoyance, an almost childlike scowl gracing her features. I did not just skip in here. Do either of you have information or not? It is really simple. Her hands twitched, and both of them visibly tensed. Kieran waited a moment, watching her check herself after a moment of clear confusion. It was obvious she was used to getting her way, whatever that was. Go to the bathroom, wash up, and get the dirt off your nose. Make yourself look somewhat presentable, then we can exchange notes. His tone left no room for argument, but Cooper shook his head as she opened her mouth anyway. Winters? The coyote's whine was just below the surface, his tone imploring. I don't know what country, planet, universe you are from, but... He waved his hand around to gesture at their locale. Read the room. You can do that, right? I hope. Look at what everyone else is wearing, then look at you. Social norms. Have you heard of them? The young woman stared at him with a blank expression for what felt like the longest time. Green's patience was waning by the second. He had half a mind to grab her and leave the club, or take her to the bathroom himself, but he forced himself to remain patient. He usually was good at that, but there was something about her that sapped at his patience. Eventually, it was as if a light bulb lit behind those nearly lifeless eyes, and she blew out a small breath. Oh. All right, I will go wash up. She said it quietly, sounding drained, but she soon disappeared for the ladies' room before the men could question her further. Cooper sighed, craning his neck back to look at the ceiling for a moment as Green pinched the bridge of his nose, downing the rest of his whiskey. Dealing with that woman would not be good for his health. Green, I know. His stomach wound twinged as the man shifted, trying to ease his nervous, jittery energy. How? I don't know. He scanned the club once more, disliking being in the concrete box more and more by the minute. His friend made a gurgling, annoyed grunt, sharing a loaded glance with Green. Mm-hmm. He couldn't agree more. The two sat in silence for the next several minutes. Cooper ordered another Dirty Shirley, ignoring Green's quiet snort. Green got a small meat platter and some water. Neither had any messages on their smartphone that needed tending, but Cooper started to go through his 942 emails, beginning to delete the old ones out of boredom, snacking on crackers and meat. Green checked stocks and packed finances. Both kept an eye on their surroundings, watching as Lacey Hale got more and more drunk, now covering herself in multiple glitter bombs, cascading from the strobing ceiling before stumbling to the bathroom with some of her girlfriends, loudly giggling as they went. The men shared one look, but they continued to wait on Winters. What else were they supposed to do? They couldn't just trample into the girl's bathroom. Eventually Cooper spoke, trying not to gulp down his drink. What do you think is taking her so long in there? My nose is itching. Was it too much to hope she was powdering her nose? Karen shrugged. I'm not sure. Loud alarms blazed throughout the club, which caused pandemonium to occur. Both the men winced at the shrill firing alarms, and soon the crowd began to rush to the exit doors, ignoring a bouncer's shouts for a calm, orderly exit. Cooper downed his drink in one deep gulp and stood, grimacing as he glanced around at the freaking out crowd. Green stood and peered over everyone's heads, looking for Winters and any sign of a fire. There was no sign of either. Well, hell. This isn't going well. Cooper sighed as they got in line. Bouncers counted heads as employees searched the club, but whether for the fire or club-goers, the guys didn't know. I'm going to say the men didn't know. I like to call them boys sometimes. Green waited until they were out on the street corner before continuing. Any sign of her? Or Hale? He muttered the vampire's name quietly, fully aware of where they were. Cooper covertly sniffed. Okay, I'm gonna stop right... This is a bad spot to stop. Very bad. But I am gonna stop here because we're about where I kind of want to stop for today. It's gonna get, like, fairly intense after this. Okay, I'm actually just gonna... I'll reread a little bit. like just from the part where the alarm is going off next time. So, one, two, three, four small paragraphs. And yeah, that'll be that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this today. I hope I get a good amount of progress. And when I say progress, I'd like to get at least 2 rows done. So yeah, but I hope you guys are enjoying this. Thank y'all so very much for watching. If y'all have done a waffle stitch blanket, let me know how it went. And how many skeins it took y'all. Oh man, it's gonna take forever. But it's a good thing I'm having fun with it. And yeah, I'm also having fun rereading Chicago. So for anybody who gets to this point in the video and listened and all of that, I really do hope y'all enjoyed it. And if y'all don't want me to read, just let me know, I guess. I insecurities. Insecurities up the wazoo. Yeah. So have a good rest of your weekend, y'all, and have a good one. Bye. That I'm not recording on the thing. I'm recording right here. Dingus.